So where we ended up before is you all had managed to make your way up that big wall onto the top of the glacier, and you had a rough time with some pelotons, some flying pelotons. And as you made your way across the glacier to start with, remember it was rough going, very slippery, very not easy, and you'd all taken a point of exhaustion. And where we ended last time was it was getting dark. You had noticed lights on the horizon, and you'd all made your way there. And you'd been stopped and approached by a human in lots of furs who had just identified that they are the tribe of the elk. And what was your business there?
Well, hello there, friend. It is nice to meet you. My name is Rogar. These are my friends Virian, Laja, Guardian, Velen. Uh, the giant dragon behind me is Suzanne. What is your name, friend?
And Rogar, as you're talking to this individual, you can see as they move a little closer some more details. They're a human female, but a very different appearance than many of the folks from the 10 towns. This lady is a lot taller. She's wearing lots of furs because, as I said before, it's dramatically colder here on the glacier than it is down below in the valley. It's, maybe 10 to 15 degrees colder just being on top of this giant block of ice. So this lady, she's wearing lots of furs from an assortment of different animals. So it's really hard to tell more about her, but you can tell she's kind of hunched over. She's carrying a spear, and she looks at you and she says, "My name is Varena. What business do you have with the Elk tribe?"
Well, our business is we are attempting to make our way across these wastes. And are we? And Rogar turns to his friends. Wait, are we looking for a book or what are we doing? I just took a hit to the head. I'm a little confused.
And Valen turns to you and she says, "Yes, yes, of course. We're looking for a book." And she says, "You, young lady, there is a specific bit of ruins, ancient elvish ruins, that we're looking for. Perhaps you could be assistance."
Okay, I've talked enough to become a speaker of a town. I'm not doing it anymore. The rest of you, start talking.
I just can't. I don't want to go through all my notes. Where exactly are we intending to go?
Yeah, so I can give you a little bit of a recap on the lore and what's happening. So what you're all trying to do is you're trying to get to the ruins of an ancient elvish city called Yithrin. And the reason you're going to this place is because Valin believes that there is a book that you can use, and this has kind of been confirmed in some capacity from a few different sources, but Valin believes there's a book there called The Codicil of the White that you can use. And what she got wrong originally was she thought that it could be used to weaken the Frost Maiden for a confrontation that's probably upcoming. But a few other sources put some doubt on that, like the Professor Stone that you all have that has just, you know, some sort of thing locked inside of it that just has knowledge. The Professor Stone, which identifies itself as Professor Scant, just said that the Codicil will allow you to get onto Orel's island without being seen. It's not going to weaken her, but just allows you to get onto her island. And as you found out from the Goliaths a few sessions ago, that if you are sneaking onto her island, as soon as you step foot on it, she can see you. So perhaps the book might weaken her, might give you access. It's a little fuzzy on what it's actually going to do, but Valen has convinced all of you to go after it.
Ah, oh, suddenly. Blessed be to Bahamut and Torma. I now remember exactly what we were doing. We are making our way to the ancient city of Yithrin. We have no real business with you. We wish you well, and maybe we could take shelter with you, partake in some food for some goods we have with us?
And Varana says, "You may rest by our fire if you'd like. You may wish to speak with Chief Elkhart. There is no food left on the glacier. We have none to share."
Okay, but just wondering, how many of you are there?
And her face kind of falls as she looks out and she says, "The tribe of the elk has been reduced to a number close to 20.
Well, sorry for saying it like this, but perfect. Go to Goodmead. They have food to help supply you.
And she sort of looks up and her eyes shift a bit and she says, "If, well, for that, it would have to be under the permission of our chief. He has other plans for us."
Hopefully to
Plus,
live.
it is a little bit far away, don't you think, Guardian?
We got here pretty quickly.
I can say, and I don't know if the rest of you are okay with this, but I could at least provide food for tonight. I don't know if I can feed all of your people here, but I mean, a little something might at least get us into your good graces.
Yes, and I can provide some healing if anyone needs it. Just let me know.
And to you, Laja, she says, "Are you a witch?"
Not a witch, but perhaps a priest of sorts. I promise it's nothing unsavory. It's just I can, provide a blessing here.
Friend, this is a Dawnbringer.
She says, "I haven't seen the dawn in so long."
Well, we hope that soon most of this trouble will be over with, but we have a long way to go before that ends up being true.
"I hope what you are saying is true. You should accompany me to our encampment. It's just ahead. Our chief will want to speak to you, especially you, shaman," and she points to you, Laja. "If you can create food through magic, we have not eaten in days."
I can definitely make enough for today at least.
See, they can fill up, survive for a few days without food, get to Goodmead, get a pot of stew.
I wish we had more pots to give around.
And she looks back to Suzanne. She says, "Your beast, is it tamed?"
Well, Suzanne does what Suzanne wants, but Suzanne does listen to instruction most of the time. And then Rorgar will turn to Suzanne and say, in Dragonborn, Suzanne, take flight and watch over the town for anything dangerous. If anything appears, let us know.
And she says, "Yes, mother. I will fly very high." And she leaps up into the air. And the low visibility here on the glacier means that as soon as she goes, like this first bound, you see her, but as she spreads her wings and takes off, she disappears very quickly.
And Rorgar will then turn to Varana and say, I have asked Suzanne to keep watch over your tribe and make sure nothing dangerous approaches while we stay here.
And she says, I'm grateful for that." And as she's saying something else, what catches in your mind, Rorgar, is some information from Suzanne, and this follows with it sort of like an image, so you can see vaguely what she's talking about. But she says that there is another encampment of something not too far away from the camp that you're approaching. And it looks like an encampment, a larger group of someone, lots of campfires.
Who says that?
Suzanne.
Okay. I will, if I can communicate with Suzanne about it, I will communicate to keep your distance from that, to not like cause any issues. We don't want to. We've just met all of these people. We don't want to cause a fight among people we've just met.
And after Suzanne flies away, Verana turns and she starts headed back towards her camp.
But Verena, this I had seen evidence of another camp nearby, a larger camp. What can you tell us of that?
And she calls back. She doesn't stop walking, but she says, that would be the Tiger Tribe. They've come to exterminate us.
Sorry, I'm typing.
Well, why don't we all discuss speaking to your chief, and then we can see what we can do to help you all.
And Ollie flies off the shoulder of Alin and lands on your shoulder, Guardian. And she kind of pecks at some of the leaves and, overgrowth that's, on your armor. And she says to you, we could just take the old lady and head back.
Head back where?
I don't know. Anywhere. It's too cold up here.
Well, it's going to keep getting colder unless we do something, so... Deal.
I liked you better before the chain.
Well, I like seeing a forest. Not this constant white and gray skies. Lack of sun and miserable people. Especially the people. Social nice.
And she says, when we were in the bag, the old lady and I can't forget about that fast enough. And she's talking about the bag that you put them in when you were carrying them up and down the cliff before.
Oh yeah, Guardian knows. Guardian remembers. He's like, yep. At least you both made it.
But she uses her claws and kind of pulls herself to the other side of your head to shelter from the wind. She's using you as like a wall away from the wind that's blowing ahead. As all of you, I'm assuming, are following Varana to the camp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what you see here... Oops, not Suzanne. Suzanne, go away.
Rude. That's very rude.
As you make your way into this camp, you see that there are several, tents that appear to be assembled from the skins or hides of some assortment of animals that you may not have seen before. It all looks very crude and kind of worn. In fact, several of the tents appear to be patched. They're not completely sealed like they probably should be for this kind of cold. But you notice roughly 20 or so humanoid figures that sort of resemble the attire that Varena has, and they all are carrying an assortment of spears or swords or daggers or bows and such. But as you make your way through the camp, people stir up from small fires that they're crowded around, and they look up at you, but no one seems to really be too excited or interested in you as you walk in. And you notice that as you're drawing closer to Varena, she looks very fatigued, very tired. Like her cheekbones are very prominent. Her skin looks very, very pale. And she's walking very slow, and her spear, she's not holding it straight. And in fact, sometimes she kind of uses it to help her way across the ice. But she leads you into the encampment.
Nice hovel. 10. Whatever this place is.
And Verena says, you have stumbled upon the final days of the Oak Tribe.
Looks painful. I mean, delightful. No, painful.
Friend, your assessment of the situation may be premature.
Is just gonna walk up to 100 of the people there? Like, I'm pretty sure I can just shove them over with my hand without much effort.
And I think Rogar, you've got training with militia, so you see these folks, and you know they're probably warriors or such, but they were probably hunters first. And you can just tell by the way that they're all carrying themselves and the way they're not coming to attention as just strangers or entering their encampment. If they were to meet a force that was stronger than them, they would probably not stand much of a chance.
What is because of your unintention? Sorry for my lack of experience in common, but normally when a group of people enter a camp like this, everyone would be aware. No one is holding their weapons, and no one is giving us even like a second look.
Varana says, "We have been traveling across the glacier for weeks. We ran out of food days ago. We have been harried by the tiger tribe. We are all tired, cold, exhausted, and starving. Many of us have pled with our chief to flee the glacier forever in search of better food, but the chief has decided that we will make our stand. We are all preparing for the end."
Well, my stubborn friend here, and Rogar points to Guardian, does make a strong point. In Goodmead, they do have a source of food that you would all be welcome to use. Uh, Maybe we can change the mind of your leader.
And she's leading you towards one of the larger tents, and she says, "I wish you the best of luck trying to convince our chief. He has made up his mind." And as you approach the larger tent, you can see there are several of the tribesmen. They're sitting around a fire, and it looks like they actually have an animal of some sort that they've caught, and they have butchered it, but it doesn't look like it's that fresh. Like they may have been carrying it around for a while, slowly, tearing off pieces of it for a course of days, because there's really not much left. And as you look at the corpse of the thing that they've been working on, it looks like it might have been starved itself. It's a very skinny elk, perhaps, and it's mostly bone, and that's before like the meat's been taken off of it. Virian, you can notice right away with your ranger skills and survival, especially, like this was probably a mostly starved elk that wouldn't feed more than like one or two people anyway.
Virian wants to walk up to the people around the fire and just kind of like take a look at the elk and sit next to someone who's like, "Did you just wait for this elk to die, stalk it, and then drag the corpse back? Or not a lot of hunting skill in this tribe? What happened here?"
And Virian, the person I think you sit next to, at least based on your token, is one of the larger members of the tribe. He's a lot taller. He seems very muscular, but you can tell he's kind of advanced in age. If he's a human, he could be in his 60s or 70s. He does have a large axe that he's keeping at his left side, but he's sitting there. He's wearing lighter furs than the rest, and by lighter I mean fewer. And he's sitting there kind of staring in the fire, and he doesn't really even pay you too much attention when you sit down next to him or when you approach him. And when you make that statement, he kind of looks to you and he says, "You, welcome to the tribe of the elk."
Thank you. Good to be here. Thanks for allowing us to sit by your fire. I'm understanding that you have some issues with the tiger tribe out in these areas here, and that your whole crew is not doing too well right now.
And the man, he looks at you, and as he looks at you, his hood kind of falls away, and you can see his face. He's only got one eye that looks like it's healthy. The other eye is white, and then you can see there's a scar across that part of his temple to where he was probably injured by something, and he lost the use of that eye. But he looks, and as he looks at you, you can see a long white beard. But he says, "I am Chief Jared Elkhart of the Elk Tribe." And he motions to a guy sitting next to him. "This is my shaman, Jenner."
I would say it's more of a refugee camp than a tribe.
I mean, they have been a tribe. They still could be a tribe. Let's be kind here. We are visitors, after all.
kindness isn't going to save them from the tiger tribe.
Still, it is better to not make things worse. And then Laja will turn over to the chief. Uh, well, I would like to thank you for letting us stay with you for the evening. Um, if there is anything that we can provide to you all in thanks for your hospitality, I'm certainly happy to help however I can.
And it's at this moment that the person that Elkhart identified as his shaman turns to Elijah, and the man named is he identified himself as was identified as Jenner. He looks at you, and he's wearing what looks like the skull of probably a bear or something, and he has all sorts of painting on his face, particularly red paint. And he looks up and he says, "Are you a priestess?"
Yes, I am. Of Lathander.
Very good. I welcome you. The light of Lathander has certainly left the Ragged Glacier.
Well, it is my goal that hopefully it will be able to return to these parts soon enough.
And Elkhart says, "You may sit, of course. Enjoy our fires how you may. Many of our tents are empty. We have lost many of our tribesmen. In fact, my son was lost just yesterday from an attack by the tiger tribe."
I did hear that you all were in need of some food. Is that something that I might be able to help you with? We don't necessarily have stores, but I can make us food for tonight, at least.
Jenner says, "That would be most appreciated, priestess. We have a long journey ahead of us." And then Elkhart interrupts and he says, "No, Jenner, that is not open for discussion. We will take your food," and this is Elkhart speaking. "We will take your food if you have any to spare, but we will not be leaving the glacier."
Why are you so averse to leaving the glacier, Elkhart?
This is our home. For generations we have lived on the glacier. It is where we belong. If we are here to die, then we will die as we have lived in our home.
Guardian's just going to open a tent, look outside. Yep. Glacier. Sprawling landscape of beauty.
Now, Mr. Elkhart, if I can call you that, and I am speaking as someone who's from a faraway land, one that famously never experiences winter. But couldn't you take your people off of the glacier, at least for a little while, and come back when you've regained your strength? You're clearly at your weak point. Not to speak offensively, your people look like very powerful warriors.
We will not surrender our home to the tiger tribe, even if that means our death.
Do you have any children here?
No, my son was my last.
Would you have the same stance if there were young one still surviving?
There are no children on the glacier.
And why is that?
Every day, it is a challenge to survive here. Those who are incapable will die a quick death.
Well,
So
if
you
you want
have
a quick death, then why should we give you food? It'll just prolong your death.
The chief says, "You are visitors here. Do as you will. I've offered what hospitality I have."
Mr. Elkhart, what do you know of this tiger tribe? Maybe after a night's rest, we could offer our services to help you. We have not heard anything of this tribe.
And Jenner says, "They are a vicious tribe, led by Queen Sovel's daughter. She is relentless. She claims to be a child of Oral herself. It is said that the cold does not bother her, does not affect her. She has a pet saber-toothed tiger that she uses to amuse herself with the victims that she has taken, or prisoners she has taken from other tribes. She is so ruthless that she cast out her only daughter to the glacier. In fact, since all the food on the glacier has gone, she and her tribe have started to. He looks a little uncomfortable when he says this. Eat their prisoners.
Yes. Flesh snacks, as I like to call it.
Elkhart says, just this morning, she sent the head of my son.
Well, that is totally fucked up. And I can't speak for the rest of this group, but I would be willing to fight with you. Cannibals?
Rogar,
No.
they are intent on dying. They don't want to migrate like the elk would during different seasons. They want to stay stubborn here like a goat on the side of a hill.
Yes, but maybe with us, they can fight back.
It's also, I mean, these people have been living here for generations. I could see why they would be wary of leaving this place.
Then it should be called the Tribe of the Rock. You know.
Mr. Elkhart, if we were able to help you fend off this tiger tribe, would you be willing to help us make our way across the glacier?
He considers for a moment. Why are you here on the glacier? There is no food. There is no treasure, which is what would normally drive someone from the 10 towns here.
We are looking for the elvish town of Ythrin.
And Jitter kind of looks to Elkhart and they exchange glances, and Elkhart says, you mean the haunted ruins to the east?
Yep.
I don't believe the map that I referred to said that. I believe it said Ythrin. So maybe we are speaking of different places, but maybe the same.
Jitter kind of looks back to his chief and then to you, Rogar, and he says, the place you seek is full of darkness. No one who goes there ever returns.
I feel like every place here in the Icewind Dale has the same description.
But there are
Pretty
things
much.
there that have been dead for a long time. Things that hunger.
I'm used to dead things.
Yes, at this point, have you played poker, Mr. Elkhart, Mr. Maginer? I believe you would say that I am pot committed.
Oh my god.
Rogar. Elkhart, he says, I will tell you how to find this place. If you wish to fight the tiger tribe, I will let you, but I will tell you just the same.
That's the first time I've ever referred to Rogar's proficiency with cards and him having a set of cards.
I'm very proud of you.
Rogar is actually a AA member. It's like 2 years clean. Used to be a gambling addict.
So, again, I can't speak for the rest of my friends, but I'd be willing to fight with you.
Elkhart says, we are going to stay here and make our final stand. The tiger tribe will no doubtly attack us again soon. You may stay if you wish for our last battle, or you may go to your elvish tomb. Do as you will.
Garns is gonna look to Valen and is like, how much time do we have left, fella?
Valen says, are you asking me how much longer do we have until the evil Winter Queen finishes her plan to create total despair and destruction in Icewind Dale? Well, she kind of looks around. I think yesterday was probably too late, don't you?
You know, I appreciate that. Appreciate that response. But for everyone else here who's wondering,
Is Guardian like as dangerous as the Frost Maiden seems to be? The thing that has caused the most destruction was the mechanical dragon from Battlehammer Hold.
yes, but it seems we're just coming across small little fires while we continue to let a bigger one rage on.
That might be true, yes, you're right.
Battlecart says, the place the old lady seeks. If you travel east here, half a day, you will find a giant rock. Head north from the rock, and you will approach large cliffs. The place you seek is at the top of those cliffs. You will not see it until you are near the top. There is not much of it left.
Mr. Elkhart, maybe this, as much as I dislike the idea of cannibals roaming free along this glacier, if we are able to achieve what we want, this land will be free of the grip of the Frost Maiden. So maybe it is wise for you to leave for a little while. I know that is a blow to your ego, but look at the people around you. They deserve to have long lives.
Elkhart
There is
says,
always the option to return.
it is better to die on one's feet than to die on one's knees.
But isn't it better to live than die altogether?
Isn't it better not to be digested in someone's stomach?
And I'm not suggesting you die on your knees. I'm suggesting you leave, regain your strength, and then come back and die on your feet.
Jitter says, you should listen to them, my chief. They have wisdom. And then Elkhart interrupts and he says, this has been proposed before. Where would we go? We would go to the Tin Towns, a place that does not suit us, where we would work in the mines. What would we do? Would we grow fruit? No. We are nomads of the rugged glacier. This is where we belong. This is our home. If the fates
We're
have
not
decided that
saying-
we are to die, this is where we will die.
Hey, how do you
feels
become a new chieftain of this tribe? What's the process? What are the challenges you can do?
Let's not.
Mr. Elkhart, it feels like you're making this decision for everyone. And I know it. I am a warrior myself. I fight for Torm and Bahamut, and I've come close to dying many times. Ask my friends; they've saved me. But sometimes it is better to run. Sometimes it is better to leave and fight again later. And there are places you can go. Currently, Battlehammer Hold has no one in it. You could just go there, relax, enjoy yourself, regain your strength, maybe find some cool magical stuff that we didn't find, and come back and beat the shit out of your foes.
Maybe make an elk chardlin monstrosity with the help of some squiddly faces and attack the 10 towns and claim it as your own.
And Elkhart stands up and he grabs his axe and he says, this discussion is over. I have made my decision for my people. If you wish to stay and fight with us, you will be welcome. Otherwise, you should stay, regain your strength, and immediately leave. And he walks into the large tent here in the center and closes the flap behind him.
Well, And looking to like everyone that's nearby. Well, we tried, and then to the people, to the warriors, and to Mjolnir, I don't know how to say it, Mjolnir, who's nearby. It is up to you, friends. You do not have to listen to him. You can do what you wish, and we are telling you. My friend here, pointing to the giant guardian, is the speaker of Goodmead, and he is giving you a chance to go somewhere where they have food, shelter, and a place to regain your strength. It is up to you. It is up to you, and I will not judge you either way. The people that will judge you are in the afterlife.
Rorgar, why don't you roll me a persuasion check, please?
Okay.
Ooh, okay. So with that roll, many of the people who are
Wait,
listening.
can I use my inspiration?
No,
Sorry,
actually,
I was
that-
taking a drink when you said that, and it went up one of my sinuses. It's burning.
sorry. This is a success, so this is probably what you wanted. You don't have to burn your inspiration. But
Okay, I'll leave it then.
as I was
If it's
saying,
a success.
as you were speaking, several of the people from the tribe that were standing on the outskirts heard your voice and began to walk closer. And before you know it, before you got through your whole spiel, you pretty much had most of the tribe standing around you. And everyone's looking to Jenner. And Jenner looks down at the fire and he says, "You are right, noble adventurer. We don't have to die here. This doesn't have to be the end of the story of the elk tribe. I never wanted this, but maybe we should leave."
Add a character. Does Laja have sending?
I do have sending.
So okay, so at least we can send a message to someone in Goodmead to tell them people are coming. I don't think we were able to do that last
Do
time.
that tomorrow. I am going to, once this whole conversation is over, I was going to use my last 2 third levels to do 2 create food and waters, which should be 30 people. That should cover everybody, right?
Yeah, I don't have an exact number in my head, but it's like 20.
Great. Everybody's going to eat well tonight with my bland food. But yeah, Rorgar would know because I used sending to contact Rorgar the other day.
Oh, perfect. My friend here will let the people of Goodmead know you're coming. With the blessing of Guardian.
Yo.
And
You do not need to die here. You can continue the story of the elk tribe.
Jenner nods at your words, and actually, Laja, I think as you begin to create the food, he and everyone else very excitedly takes it from you and begins to consume it, whatever it is. And Jenner says, We will rest tonight and leave in the morning. It is late, in fact." And he looks at you all. "You look very tired yourselves. And perhaps in that time I can convince you not to go to the place you want to go."
Well, we're going there because we're trying to save everyone.
"You seem brave and good of heart. It would be a shame to throw your lives away there."
I don't have a heart.
If we are successful at not only this step, but the ones after, then you'll be able to return to the glacier and life will go back to how it was before.
Yes, you. Just to make it clear, you're not all like followers of the Frost Maiden, right?
And he looks at you for a long time, Rorgar, like he's thinking how to respond to that. And he says, "No, we do not follow the Frost Maiden. That
Good, because our goal here is to fuck her up.
That is the province of the queen of the tiger tribe. She claims to be a daughter of Oril.
Garrett is going to look at Rogar for a second. Like, I'm glad you continued that sentence. That was an odd pause.
It is my grasp of common. Sometimes it fails me.
I had assumed you became a bard while I wasn't looking.
Oh, you do not want me to sing.
You mean to challenge Oril, you say?
Eventually, yes.
No, do I become chieftain of the tiger tribe now? Is this what's going to happen? I go kill another person?
If you defeat Oril, he kind of looks and he says, that's an interesting equation. If the queen is actually a daughter of Oril as she claims, if you defeat Oril, then she will die. The queen of the tiger tribe will die. It is said that those who bear the blessing of the Frost Maiden will perish when she does.
Neat.
That is
Good to know.
There's apparently a weird man that's kind of a creep named Biker. I don't know.
I am not familiar with this man, but I have met many creeps in my time.
Apparently he likes to watch us while we sleep.
Oh, do you mean Cephik?
Oh, right, that's his name.
You know what, Josh? I want to hide my reaction to what is being said. Can I see if anybody notices that Laja is freaking out?
Sure. Was that maybe under performance?
I was just gonna do deception.
Deception, that's better. Thank you.
I'm not good at either of those. So that would make it funny.
Guardian is terrible at remembering names.
We'll do passive perception for an 11, which I think is just about everybody.
Mine's only 10.
Well,
I think Rorgar and perhaps Guardian don't notice.
Guardian doesn't care. He's just more thinking about like, am I going to have to kill someone?
Yes, you mean Cephik, that asshole that has attacked us, and he is kind of the one responsible for me losing 30 years of my life.
Yeah, I think the only
is that
person
what
that doesn't
happened to
notice is
you?
Rorgar. It looks like Guardian, you would catch that.
Is that what happened to you, Rogar?
I think.
No.
I've been trying to put the pieces together. My memory is a little scattered, probably because I'm older now, which I hate. I don't like that idea.
I thought that was just what your kind did, just accelerate get old one day.
No.
don't worry, Rorgar. You're still young. You're young enough.
Is he? Is he, though? He complains and groans.
As you say that, you notice that there's like that white speck at the edge of his mouth that old people get.
Yeah, but comparatively, Rorgar is still very young.
He's like 55 now. Or 50.
He has old people crust, is what you're trying to tell us?
He's out of character. He's 51 years old now.
He's still older than me. That's good.
By how much?
I was feeling targeted, but considerably. That's good. I was about to drop a dragon on all of you and kill you here and now, but I guess we can keep playing. So, Laja, what does everyone notice except for Rorgar?
I would say Laja, who had been participating in the conversation quite actively, is just like not. Just like, handing out food, I guess. And past that, probably suspiciously quiet compared to how Laja usually is.
Yes, Virian, how would you describe this Cephik fellow?
A bit of an asshole if I had to talk badly about someone. Not a desirable type to be around. at the very
Luckily,
least.
I don't believe we have seen him recently, right?
I did tell you guys.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think I was away from the group.
Yes, you weren't there from the
You
yeah.
were away from the group. The other two do know.
For a second, I was like, oh, did I just meta game? Yeah, no, we were told.
So
Yeah,
like
no.
totally, we haven't seen him in a while. He probably died from the wounds that we inflicted upon him.
No, he was recent. Laja saw him. Laja, is your food that bad that you're so quiet you're not cheerful about it?
I made enough for everybody. If
Yeah,
we want some warm food rather than cold rations.
yes, but you're usually much more cheerful when you're handing out food to people. You're like, here you go, have some food. Fill up that tummy, be warm with it.
I don't know if I hand out food too often. Is that a thing that I do?
When we were at town at one time in Goodmead, yes. You're quite happy about it.
I mean, it was also a magical pot.
Well, this is magical food.
I mean, I suppose so. It looks a little plain, and I wouldn't want to make people feel necessarily bad about getting what are equivalent to magical rations.
I'm sure if they could chip it out, they would dig up the dirt and eat it. That's how hungry they are. So this is gourmet.
I suppose so.
Then be chipper.
But as you were asking, Rorgar, yes, I saw Sefik as we were leaving the last place.
Well, that is disconcerting.
He came
But-
to visit and gloat, uh, probably normal things to do.
Why didn't he kill you? You're by yourself, target, and he didn't know he was there.
He said it was more fun to let me go.
So the stairs.
But why you?
So we have like original hardwood, then we have ugly tiles, or carpet, and then on the stairs.
Guy just looks out like, who's talking about original hardwood? I feel attacked.
And we don't know what's underneath.
Sorry. That's okay. That's okay.
Yes, Laja, it is not good, but maybe I don't know, but maybe maybe he's afraid of us.
I don't
He's
think
been on
so.
a break.
I think he is more looking to achieve his own goals, whatever that is, and whatever we find on this when we find this book is going to be interesting to him as well. I can't say I know everything about what is going on.
I do know this. The first time we encountered him, we were not prepared. But this time, we are aware of his presence. We will be ready. And I swear, if I have the chance, I will remove his head from his shoulders.
Well, didn't he say he was like someone's child or something like that?
He also said he was a child of the Frost Maiden.
No, we kill her, him and that queen of cannibals die too. So, one head for two. That math works out.
And Jinner says, many claim to be the children of the Frost Maiden, but those who truly are would have magical abilities around the cold. It is said that the Tiger Queen, that the cold does not hurt her, that she could fall into a cold lake and it does not bother her at all. That things such as blizzards and frozen wind do not affect her either. Those would
But
be the signs of someone who is actually touched by the Frost Maiden.
but didn't Sefik call you Laja the daughter of the Frost Maiden?
I honestly have no idea what he says is real or not. He seems to say whatever ends up making sense to him at the time. I I don't know.
Well, we can dunk you in ice water and find out.
Let's not out on this freezing glacier.
See, she's cold.
Well, he did not call me the son of the Frost Maiden, and I know I am not as affected by the cold as you.
Yeah, but doesn't he also like kind of walk on top of the snow?
That might be true. I was not there looking at his feet, and I definitely do not enjoy trekking through the winter weather. It is slow and boring, and now that we're up here, it is getting a bit cold.
Despite what this creep has to say about themselves, I have found that the quickest way to deal with someone that is causing you problems is a blade through the chest. I may recommend that for this person.
I prefer a maul to the head.
That works as well.
Well, for now, I will just pray that we do not end up meeting him again anytime soon.
And after everyone eats their meal, most of the people here at the village here start to begin to pack some of their things up. Like they roll up their furs, break down some of the tents, and start to get things ready to leave in the morning. And there's several tents left standing, and they let some of the campfires go down. And then over time, people begin to retreat into their tents.
Garen's gonna look at his left arm that's been messed up by a chain, and he's gonna start pulling what he can off of the plating, and just start working with the little campfire he set up for heating the metal up, just to bend it back to shape.
I'm going to talk to the shaman before he ends up going to sleep. Probably just privately, but very quickly. I don't know if I can offer you any supplies for the journey, but certainly I will let the town know that you're coming, and you will be welcomed and given food and shelter, whatever you need.
Thank you, Priestess. Any help you could provide would be much appreciated. The journey down the glacier will be most difficult. There are wild pelotons that have been known to attack.
On the bright side, we ran into a bunch of them, so there may be fewer than you expect.
In the past, we've heard cries telling us to dig in and keep going, but the pelotons proved to be most a challenge.
I totally understand. Just stay safe, all of you, and I'm sure that you will be led to the right place.
Thank you, Priestess. I noticed that you were trouble before. Is there anything I can do to help you?
We just have a lot of different goals, and it seems like a lot of different steps to get to where we want to be.
I mean what I said before. The place you are headed to is a place of death.
Well, we've fought some pretty terrible things thus far, so this might not be the worst thing that we've done so far.
I see. Well, I still wish you well. I will say a prayer to Lathander for you. I hope to see you again.
I hope to see you as well. Thank you.
I believe the chief will stay here even on his own. I do have a small request, if it is not too much trouble when you return. To see if the chief manages to survive, perhaps offer up the alternative again of leaving the glacier. Maybe on his own he may rethink what he thinks or what he wants to do, but it will be difficult to leave him here. But I believe your friend, what he said was correct.
I will surely come to see him as we make our way back out up the glacier. And who knows, maybe he will follow you soon enough.
I can only hope. I will now go to get some rest. Priestess, I encourage you to do the same. Where you are going will be difficult to reach. I trust you know the way now.
Well, good night and good luck for the journey tomorrow.
And he gives you a bow and he walks off to one of the tents and also closes the flap behind him.
I'll go and rejoin the others.
Guardian's looking at Varian. Your sword, your bow, and your armor. Give it over.
Okie dokie. And Varian will hand everything over without hesitation and give it to Guardian.
Rogar, same thing.
When you say that to Rorgar, he is he's actually in prayer. And you can probably hear him. He's got his eyes closed. He's speaking not loudly, but he's speaking to himself. And you can hear that he's praying not just to Bahamut and Torm, but he's actually saying a prayer to Sylvanas, kind of giving the god of nature a status update, because he did promise that although he wouldn't commit himself to Sylvanas, he did swear that he would attempt to help her in removing the Frost Maiden. So you kind of jolt him awake from that. Oh, I'm so sorry. Were we in a conversation?
Yeah, I was talking to you for the last 5 minutes. Telling you about my life story.
Really?
Yeah. Then you kind of nodded off. I'm kind of hurt.
I'm sorry to say you'll have to repeat it. None of it is entered my... It must be my hearing. It must be going with my age.
Well, I started saying that I shall never repeat this again to another soul. So thank you for...
I feel terrible. I'm so sorry.
It was
what can I do for you?
Story too.
Yes. Moved Varian to tears. Anyways,
well,
your weapon, your shield, and your armor.
At least Varian was here to hear it. Maybe he can recite it to me and I can keep it for historians' sake. Yes, here's my battle axe. Here's my armor. Here's my dagger. Here's my hand axe.
And then as Lasha walks in, he's like, Lasha, you're gear too.
I'm pretty good at keeping mine all in order. I made most of it. But thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, Guardian will go over. Start working on tending to everyone's gear, just doing little patch jobs if needed. Cleaning, making sure everything's fine, no tears, buckles are fine. No breaks in any of the seams.
And by now, I think you all would have noticed, just like as a general thing, Laja keeps her armor in very good condition. Just like that is one of her things. She's like very proud of it, even though it's just like the same thing that she wears all the time.
You do see Guardian take off his helmet, and he's working on that for a little bit too.
Hopefully everybody has gone to sleep by the time Guardian does that.
Ollie turns to you after you take your helmet off and she says, You look terrible. Did you know that?
Yes, it's a mixture of bark and bone
She says,
with some nice fungus and moss.
if I had nightmares, that's what I would have nightmares about.
Looks at her for a moment as he goes back to work.
And Valen passes by. She's heading to one of the unoccupied tents, and she says to Ollie, she says, come on, you foolish bird. And Ollie departs off your shoulder and lands on Valen's as they head into a tent to go to sleep.
As Valen walks past, he just looks up at her and he's like, what do you know of things like me?
She looks down at you and she says, you are obviously a magical enchantment of some kind. If I had to guess, I'd say some kind of curse gone wrong.
I know things that I haven't experienced. Mending and fixing and creating for a forge. Caring for a songblood, moonblood. Flashes of warmth and green. Smiles and laughter. I know what a Stovaker is, without ever knowing what it was. I know chants and rite and prayers for the dead.
And she looks at you and
There's more.
she has a patch on one eye, because she's lost one eye, but the other eye, she kind of squints at you and she says, that is all very interesting. It is possible that you were created sometime long ago and from something else, and you could have displaced memories of a previous life. I've often heard of consciousnesses told, it's a hard word tonight, torn from living creatures and implanted into devices in order to give them life. You could be something like that.
He will slowly reach up to his head, and where an ear would be, he'll attempt to stroke it, but there's nothing there, and he's like, I remember the warmth. Laughter of a child. Soft whispers in my ear. But the words are faded. Even the tone is gone. It's just a sensation of what was there. I remember the name of a child,
And she
but I
says,
cannot remember the face.
I am not sure what kind of magical wonder or horror that you are. That's something we can ponder over once we are done with our quest. Unless there is anything I can help you with, I would like to go to sleep. Like you have said, the cold everywhere. I feel it particularly on this glacier, and I am very eager to be off of it.
And we'll just look ahead for a moment and snap out. Yes, you and Rogar would make a good couple. Both of you creak and groan.
And she says, if that was a joke, it was not funny.
It'll get better as it ages.
Yes, let's hope you do as well.
And as you say that, you hear Rogar in his sleep.
Garen will spend working for the next few hours and then go into his sentry mode.
All right, and unless anybody has anything else they'd like to do, I'm assuming you're all going to take a long rest.
Yeah, I think everyone's asleep.
Yes, please.
Okay, remember that'll clear your exhaustion because you all had 1 point of exhaustion. So yeah, long rest, you could recover your spell slots, heal up, and all that. But in the morning, the early sun begins to rise into the east, just a very faint glimmer. And as
in
you
the
all awaken,
morning.
you see that the tribe has mostly torn down their tents and are getting ready to leave. The one tent that has not been disturbed and where the flap is still closed is the tent of the chief. He is also
I assume
not...
the one we're in.
Oh, I'm sorry?
And I assume the tent we're in, too.
Yeah, I think as soon as the last of you would stir and leave the tent, someone would start to work on taking it apart.
Before we head out, I start handing Varian his stuff back. Just look at Varian and I was like, double check the belts and the latches, they're fine. Might want to look at getting some new padding, though, the next time we head into a town. Unfortunately, there's no feathered beasts out here. Although, if we still had the mammoth, we could have used that for some extra fur.
We'll just have to find another one, I guess. And Virion will take everything from Guardian and start putting it on. And
He holds back the moonblade for a second and is like, I told you how to clean this properly. You've been neglecting. I found a piece of food stuck to the hilt.
sometimes I use it to cut cheese. It slices really well.
This is meant to be used on your enemies, not food.
Cheese can be the enemy. I am lactose intolerant.
I think I'm going to pull you aside for a couple of hours each night and teach you some things about proper weapon care and maintenance.
I would like that, Guardian.
Good. And he'll just like inspect Varian as he's donning his outfit, and he's like, just making sure everything's good. He's like, alright. Rogar.
Ah, I'm just waking up. Is something the matter?
He holds, he's holding your stuff there. And he's just looking at it for a second, like, the armor's been maintained, polished, and cleaned.
Friend, this armor, my shield has not looked this good since I came to Icewind Dale. I
Yeah,
appreciate it very much.
you had a couple of buckling rivets I fixed.
I noticed that the other day, but I didn't know who to turn to. Thank you so much. And as Rogar puts it on, he's like twisting and turning in the armor and like, I haven't had this mobility in 3 days. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I slacked the leather a little bit.
You are blessed by Bahamut, I swear. Thank you so much, friend.
Pat you on the head. Alright.
And although that would seem a bit like demeaning or whatever, I think Rogar has learned to accept that kind of stuff from Guardian because he's huge, and it's like, and maybe gives him like a bit of a pat back on the back.
Garner will sit down at his little work site for a moment as he's reattaching the armor plating on his left arm. Whoever's watching, by the way, can see that interweave of bone and root and bark as he's reapplying that plating back to him before he gets covered up.
But as you're all getting ready together and getting these things together, you see Atlas and Jen are off to the side, and Atlas appears to be getting ready to travel with the tribe down from the glacier. Sorry, continue, please, Rogar.
No, I think Rogar was just going to say, Guardian, I've come to terms with the fact that you're some sort of automaton or undead creature. I can't believe I did not notice it sooner.
Just looks at you for a second, like, what, did you forget this? And he pulls off his helmet.
Yes,
In his
I gave
defense, I don't think he was there the first time that you did that. Maybe?
Pretty sure he was there along with.
No, I think I had out of character. I think I had made sure Rogar was slightly out of sight or something just for the
Yeah.
first few times.
Yeah, it was only me and Varian.
And ELH's character.
Yes.
But I think maybe you are teaching me a lesson that just because something isn't completely alive, it does not mean it is evil. You have been one of the fiercest fighters I've ever seen, and I am glad to have you on my side.
Just looks at you for a moment. Okay. Well. Thanks.
This is a lot this is a lot for me to say because in my training, I was taught to immediately attempt to cut the head off any undead that I've seen. So
Mm.
I do not wish to do that with you.
I honestly don't know what is mean and what's not. The bark and roots and vines all move along with the bone.
Yes, and it does appear that healing magics do work on you. So maybe you're not quite undead. There's something else.
Maybe I'm just a parasite that wrapped around a skeleton inside a suit of armor.
That sounds like something out of a scary book. I like to think that you are sent by Bahamut to help me and everyone else clean this land from the grip of the Frost Maiden, and maybe you should let me have that for now. Because this is a lot.
Okay. Next town we go to, by the way, we need to look at replacing the leather strap on your shield.
And Rogar moves his arm and notices it's a little loose. Oh, I didn't even notice that before. You're right.
I was half tempted to pull off one of these vines that are wrapped around my arm here to use it as a temporary measure, but I don't think it would last in the cold too long.
Oh, I'm glad you didn't do that.
A little
That
bit of
seems
me with you at all times.
kind of dark. No, I don't. I appreciate the restraint.
You're a good kid. And with that, Guardian just stands up, grabs his maul, and starts walking out.
And Valin,
Yeah, and Rogar is kind of laughs to himself because he knows now kid is kind of a funny thing to say to him, and he walks. He continues to flex in the armor.
and Valin emerges from her tent, and Ollie's on her shoulder. And Valin looks even more energized than you've ever seen her before. She's still pulling her furs close to her body, but she has a big smile on her face, and she says, "We are almost near Ythrin. I can just smell it on the wind. It'll be good to get there."
Yes. It would be good to get there. Get this book, read it, do whatever we need to do with it, and go beat the shit out of the Frost Maiden.
She says, I am interested to see exactly what this book contains that we can use against Oral. Of course, accounts have varied. She says, are you all ready to go? I think we've wasted enough time here with these people.
Maybe it's a recipe on peppermint hot chocolate. The Witch Queen is dreadfully allergic to peppermint. Doesn't want to look at anyone who is involved with it. And the hot chocolate part keeps us nice and warm.
And Valen looks
That's
to
what I
Ollie,
hope for.
and she says, you would think after this amount of time I would be used to their humor, but I'm not.
Don't worry, we'll grow on you. And Guardian's just gonna look around for a second like, right, are we going to talk to the chieftain one more time? Tell him he's an idiot? Or are we just gonna leave?
And Jinder says, the chief will not see anyone. We have made our decision. We will head for the 10 towns before the Tiger Tribe makes their move on our camp.
Alright, well, if he's not gonna see anyone, that's fine. He can still listen to someone shouting around him. Sound good?
I like it.
Guardian's just gonna look at you like, why am I the talkative one?
Your voice carries more weight than everybody else's, I feel.
I was going to say it's your winning smile.
I'm missing a few teeth.
All the more fun.
Mm.
It adds character.
Now, let's go yell at an old man. Guy will just start heading towards the chief's tent.
And before you make it to the tent, Atlas actually approaches you. And remember, Atlas is definitely the tallest Goliath in his camp, which means he is probably the tallest figure in this camp as well. But he approaches you, Guardian, and he slaps you on the shoulder and he says, well, my friend, our time has come. I am leading these people down the glacier back to my tribe and then wherever they would like to go. I think it's good, Mead.
Good to hear. It'll be a real challenge for you to get them all back safely.
I look forward to it.
Make sure that you keep an eye out for those annoying little birds.
And he says, well, these people are hungry. That problem can perhaps solve itself.
True. We did leave their corpses there.
And he says, hurry and look after your friends. I'm eager to have have a rematch of Goat Ball.
Goat ball.
And Atlas yells, Goat Ball!
What are people yelling?
Goat ball.
They like games over at the other Goliath camp. It's
Yes.
rather lighthearted there.
They take a goat and crush it down into a sphere shape, and then they throw it around.
Well, that seems very barbaric. But I'm not
No.
one to look down on the activities of these people.
Those goats love it. He just looks to Atlas like, you have a safe journey.
He gives you a smile. Until we meet again, my friend.
Give him a nod, and he'll turn to look to Laja. Like, you said you were going to send a message to Goodmead. Are you able to receive one from them as well?
As long as it is exactly when I'm sending it to them.
Good.
Is there something specific I should say?
Yes, Guardian sending refugees. How are the orcs doing? Is Shandor still a fuck?
I do only have a limited amount of stuff that I can say. So let's make a list of priorities and do the more important ones first.
Guardian sending people. Help them? Status
Okay.
of good meat.
So I'll say you're sending refugees. We don't know how long it's going to take for them to arrive. And ask them how the town is doing.
Yes.
Okay. And Laja will make a note of that. And as we are traveling, I guess I will do that briefly.
Let them know you have. Is there a limit on how often they can reply to you?
I mean, they can only reply when I cast it.
Okay. We'll have to find a way to let them know how quickly they can reply.
So yeah, the other people can reply with 25 words to me immediately after. It's not very impressive, but it'll get the job done.
I don't know. Do you have a short piece of fine copper wire?
I have my holy symbol, and that doesn't cost anything, so that replaces that.
Got it. I won't make you count out the words. I imagine you sum up what Guardian had to say in less than 25 words.
It is always hilarious when somebody makes them do that, but I'm begging you, please don't make me do that on stream.
That's all right. I'd say you probably communicate with Zach. Remember, Zach was a member of the council that Guardian created. And you communicate to Zach. And I'm sorry, again, what were the questions to Zach?
Sending refugees, status of town.
Yeah, just those two things. With a you can reply to this message right at the end.
Zach replies, trying to think how I can keep it under 25 words. He says, never saw orcs arrived dealing with an envoy from Bryn Shander. In message. Over.
Okay, I will relay that to Guardian.
Yeah, I think we need to go back, and I need to go become Speaker of Bryn Shander too.
Well, first steps first, we're gonna go to these ruins. Hopefully not die in these ruins, and then we'll probably head out in a different direction before we head back to Goodmead.
Yeah. You know what? If we come back saying, "Hey, we killed the Frost Maiden," I think that's just going to allow me to become Speaker of this whole area. Because I really don't like that Shandor. If I can kick him out of this whole entire land, worth.
Oh, I'm with you 100%, Guardian. Screw that guy. He sucks.
I feel like right now he is not our biggest priority, but certainly somewhere on the list.
Tell me that when you're a Speaker of a town. I'm just want to become Speaker now to spite him.
And Villain says, certainly, I will tell Oral to pause all of her plans while you fix your problems at Goodmead. I'm sure that she will be very cooperative.
No. We're going to kick her ass first, and then we're going to use her body as proof, and then Speaker of all 10 towns. Hi.
No, Guardian, if Villain can do that, that would be very useful. Can you do that?
Yeah, can you tell her to stop for a bit? Like, hey, chill out? I mean, no, don't chill out. That's what you want to do. Warm up.
She rubs the bridge of her nose.
Oh,
She says, I have found the biggest idiots in all of Faerun.
she was being sarcastic. Villain,
No. Seriously?
I am not a native speaker of Common. Sometimes sarcasm is lost on me if it is not spoken in Dragonborn.
No.
Yes, it is
I'm not-
true, Guardian.
Yeah, I'm not sure if any of us speak Draconic other than you.
Yes, and there have been many times I've misunderstood things you have said. And I feel very embarrassed every time.
Well, maybe once this is all over, you can open up a school and teach us all.
Yeah.
One
Let's go
step
yell
at
at
a
an old
time.
man. And yeah, Kari's just gonna head to the chieftain's tent.
And the flap to the chieftain's tent is closed, and I think at this point it's probably the only tent left. Everyone has started to, drag their tents because I don't think they have any, axe beaks or any other beasts to help them. It's mostly what they can carry. So everyone's got all their supplies packed and started to head west towards the edge of the glacier, leaving really just this one tent in the middle of the ice.
Hey, chieftain.
He does not come to the flap.
Alright. Well, the shaman said he didn't want any visitors, like that you're not going to see anyone. Didn't say anything about not hearing anyone. Are you really going to deprive your people of your leadership by being this stubborn? To stay out here and die in front of enemies that will just eat you? Why deprive your people of your knowledge and your wisdom that you have amassed for over the years, just to simply die here a meaningless death? If there is any hope that your people can survive no matter where, you should take it.
Guardian, why don't you give me a persuasion check?
Try and reach. Guess my cat's on my arm. Persuasion. 9.
Yeah,
You know
the
what?
flap
You
stays
know what?
closed.
I'm gonna boop. There you go. Inspiration.
Cool.
13.
I think unfortunately the flap stays closed.
Guardian, it is his choice to die as a fool. We cannot take that from him.
He's not dying just as a fool, he's dying as a coward. He doesn't want to face the future. He doesn't want to see what tomorrow will bring. He's set on dying here today so that he doesn't have to worry about his people. That he is free and absolved of any responsibility to them. So that if they die later, it's not his fault. He's simply a coward.
I'm not sure I agree 100%. It does take strength to face certain death, but in another way, you are correct. He could be so much more useful for his people, but we cannot dissuade him, I guess.
Alright, let's go.
Mr. Elkhart, good luck with your suicide mission. I hope Bahamut and Tom treat you well in the afterlife. And that's Rogar like yelling into the flap of the tent, kind of like thinking that like because it's dark in there, he has to yell because he's dumb.
Yeah, I guess as all of you are starting to gather your stuff and begin to head out, Rogar, you get a message from Suzanne, and what Suzanne is really just communicating is that tribe or that camp that was further, probably northeast to the position of the elk tribe. She says that several warriors are starting to move towards it, and you should probably head east if that was your direction very quickly.
And Rogar will respond, Suzanne, oh, I hope you had a very pleasant night. Haven't heard from you in a while. But yes, come join us. It appears that the leader of this camp wants to die in a glorious battle. Pointless one, but a glorious one. So come join us. We will continue our trek.
So, GM, I have a question for you.
Yes?
The chieftain said it would take half a day to get to those ruins. Right?
Yeah, approximately, yeah. That's not counting Guardian speed, though.
Yeah.
That's cardio.
6 hours.
That's counting slow old man barbarian speed.
You were gonna say Rogar.
Ouch.
I've heard Rogar. So yeah, if it's 6 hours then with Guardian's elk speed, he will choo-choo his way through the snow. And yeah, 6 hours, guys.
Guardian, also, I think since you all did a long rest, you can fill up your hit points if you'd like.
Yeah, I have too much. I have too
Fill
much.
up Suzanne's as well. But it's much like before as you continue to work your way across the ice. It's very slow going. I think you all have come up with a rhythm to move across the ice, even though it is a lot of work. The person that is the most difficult or the most slowest over this terrain has got to be Valin. She has that injury that she had before, and she's slowly making her way across the ice, and sometimes you have to pause in order for her to catch up.
I can put you back in the bag again if you want, Villain.
And Valin says, "No, I'm only going back in that bag if I'm dead."
Have we not made a sled for her yet?
Are you sure? I turned it inside out, so it's not messy inside anymore.
And Suzanne says to you, Rogar, that she could carry the old one. And you notice that actually Suzanne has no problem at all in the glacier, just walking over it. She uses her claws to stay in the ice, and her claws dig into the ice like it's, like it's sand. She has no problems.
Oh, Rogar will turn to Villain and say, "Oh, Suzanne has said that she is willing to give you a hand, Villain, if you're okay with that. I know that the sight of a dragon has been controversial amongst some of the people we have seen in Icewind Dale."
And Villain stops for a moment and she says, "While before I previously did not know what to do with you," she's saying this to Suzanne, "at this point, I don't think I could turn that down." And Suzanne lowers her head and helps Valin crawl on her back. And it looks a little uncomfortable because Suzanne doesn't have a saddle. So you're like riding on her sharp scales. But with that, Valin on the back of Suzanne, you are all able to really pick up the pace because, like I said, Suzanne has no problem covering this terrain.
Can I have my 50 feet of rope.
Sure.
Can I use that to kind of, obviously not make like a saddle, but like to put it around the neck of Suzanne and have like a handhold for Valin, so she's, if Suzanne has to move, Valin can at least hold on to something.
Sure. That sounds very prudent. I think that's something you could work up pretty easily,
All right.
especially with Suzanne's cooperation. So over the course of the day, you guys make your way east. You find the giant rock that the chief was talking about, and then you begin to head north. And at this point, a cold wind kind of starts to blow in from the north, southern towards your direction. So you're all kind of walking into the wind. And Varian, if you can give me one of those survival checks as always, and at advantage, of course, because this is your terrain.
Sure thing. Oh, not great.
Hey, you got an inspiration.
I think I'm gonna burn that inspiration. Yeah.
That would be very wise.
Let's run that back one more time. That looks a little better.
18 is great. So you are able to easily pick out the features, the change in the terrain that the chief was talking about. And he mentioned that you would come across a cliff or at least a change in the terrain. And what happens is as you approach this area, this new area, what it looks like was this glacier is just, as I've said before, a large block of ice that's really just rolling across the landscape. And this cliff that you're approaching looks like it was land that was here before the glacier. And in fact, the glacier just isn't tall enough to cover it. So this cliff is probably, very, very old because the glacier's been here who knows how long. But at the cliff, you are able to spot with this 18 survival check. It looks like some sort of structure near the top. And you can tell that It might have been larger at some point, but it may have collapsed, which really shows that this is probably something ancient.
Looking at it, would I like any markings or anything that would kind of identify who lived there or who built it or anything like that?
It looks, some features look very ornate. If you had to guess, you would say it's either Dwarvish or Elvish, but you are kind of far away.
Okay. It looks like there's an old building or some type of structure up ahead on top of this cliff that's has to be ancient in age. Might be worth investigating to see what it's all about. Is this Ythrun?
Well, only one way to find out. Let's start climbing.
All right.
As you all begin the ascent, so what the difference in terrain from the ice to the cliff is that the ice is pretty predictable. You know, you're able to use your spikes in the bottom of your shoes to dig in. As you start to climb the cliff, it is mostly rock, but it's very slick. So if everyone can give me an athletics check, we'll see what happens to you.
Well, we still have a climbing kit, right?
Yeah, you do. So Virian and Laja, what happens as you're climbing is you're using your climbing gear, and I imagine you've all kind of worked out a system, is you don't fall, because you kind of can't, you're anchored, but you do manage to slip a few times, and you take 3 hit points of damage from just like scuffing your legs or your hands. Just don't have a very easy time making your way up here.
Rats.
That's better than I was expecting.
Very kind.
The climbing gear really comes in handy. It says you can't fall with it, so that's important. This I'm moving you to is actually a giant map, so I'm going to give it a second. Roll20 is going very slowly for me tonight anyway. You are all down here at the bottom. So you've made your way up the side of the cliff here, and you've made your way into what looks like an outer courtyard of whatever the structure was. There are some collapsed statues in the corner. There are stairs leading up to what looks sort of like a battlement. And over here are stairs that lead somewhere. But the structure looks to be one level, and it kind of goes into the cliffside itself, and parts of it seem to have collapsed. Sorry, you were saying Virian?
That was Guardian.
Oh, Guardian, go ahead.
Does this structure look older from my memory, or does it look like something newer?
You've been here before, actually, Guardian, and you're very compelled to go over here.
Sorry, where's the ping?
Right there.
Yeah, I'll wander on over.
As you wander over, you recognize this area. So this is a battlement where you used to stand over and look down the cliff for any approaching enemies. And you realize this, actually, place where you're standing is where you died. And kind of coming back slowly, it's sort of like when you're remembering a dream, and that you can pick up moments, pieces of it, not exactly the clarity of it, but you begin to pick up pieces from perhaps a past life. And what those pieces you put together in your mind is you're rushing away from the throne room and the carnage inside towards the outer battlements, which is where you stand now. And you're thinking, if you can only activate the guardians, then your people might have a chance. The king is dead. You saw his soul ripped from his body by the to-be king, Kislar. You passed the desiccated corpse of Corin, your friend. and your other kinsmen. But you put that out of your mind as you see the row of automatons lighting the battlements before you. They are the mechanical constructs built in partnership with the dwarves in the valley. And you know, if you can only activate them, then maybe you can stop Kislar. You approach the closest automaton. Now, you go past the one that's fallen over. It's tangled in one of the chains that secures them in place. And as you begin the control phrase to activate the Guardian, you are hit from behind by a wave of energy. You don't know where it came from, but it just hits you from behind. Your sight immediately blurs, and you're overwhelmed with a feeling of sinking into cold water. And then, after a while, there's brief flashes of traveling through a forest. It's fuzzy, almost like you're looking up from underwater. And one distant thought passes through your mind in moments of consciousness, and that thought is, you must stay away from the throne room. And your memory comes, again, broken in different images. It gets a little more vague and less clear. You remember traveling far and not stopping. You don't know where you're going, but your limbs, your hands feel very, very cold. And you ask yourself, why are you so cold? You don't know. You look at yourself and you're not in your body, at least as you remember. Your body is a suit of armor. You're one of the guardians, or are you? Where are you going? You don't know, but you feel that you must go on. Are you dead? What's happened to you? You can't be sure.
Guard's just gonna stand there for a moment, tighten his grip on his maul. He's gonna look back down that hallway there. Exactly where is that throne room?
It's that way.
Guard starts walking. Does not saying a word.
Valin looks back and she says, you seem to know where you're going.
Guardian, is everything okay?
Fine,
Should we follow?
if you wish.
La's just gonna quickly scurry over to Guardian. The difference in the size of steps is immense.
For movement speed, he's booking it
And
compared to everyone else.
Virian, where you're walking, Virian, you just pass by a mound of snow. So like most of this courtyard is covered in like a thin layer of snow, but there's a mound over here. And from just a glance, you look back and it looks like a pile of bones.
As Rorgar gets to about here, he would like to use Divine Sense.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Your divine sense tingles in a manner that you've never felt before, Rogard. In fact, you feel that there is the deepest, darkest evil that you have ever sensed before with divine sense here.
Friends, be ready for combat. Something evil is in this temple.
And in fact, I think your divine sense triggered so intensely that there's something evil here that off to the side, Suzanne is digging her claws into the snow and she starts a low growl and she says, "Mother, we should leave this place."
Suzanne, unfortunately, I believe we have to explore. But be ready.
Guard's not listening to anyone. He's moving forward.
Guardian, you've walked into the building and what you've noticed is like the room that you're in currently. It might have used to have been like a hall where folks sat and ate, probably one of the great halls of the throne. And in the center, it looks as though this is where the hearth was, or a large fire pit. And what's strange about it is there's a thin layer of ice in this entire room, and frozen is the fire actually in place. It's kind of strange because the fire, when it got cold, it should have burned out, but you can actually see the flame, but it's frozen solid.
Which door would take me to the throne room?
That would be that way.
Yeah, he just starts making a beeline for it. Opening the door and going through.
And Valen is following you, and Virion, as you notice that as Guardian is heading in, and you've kind of inspected the skeleton, doesn't look like it looks like old ancient bones, because the way you can tell they're old is you start to kind of move the snow aside, and your foot touches one of the bones, and it just crumbles to dust. And as the bone crumbles to dust, your moonblade starts to hum ever so softly.
Oh, did we lose Virion?
Virion, if you're talking, you're muted.
Sorry, I stepped away for a second.
It's all right. I think the important thing to take away, Virion, is that as you walked over to inspect that skeleton, your moonblade started to hum quietly.
I'm gonna pull. Virion's gonna pull out his moonblade and just kind of be prepared as he gets closer to the bones, and just from a distance, kind of poke at the bones with the moonblade.
And you've been carrying this sword for quite a while. You know, you've begun to grow accustomed to it, and you feel a greater connection to it. And this blade is overwhelmingly urging you to walk through those doors like where Laja is now and follow the direction that Guardian is going. And you almost feel like a voice in the back of your mind telling you to go there.
Virion is pretty easily persuaded, so Virion is going to start following that voice and follow behind Laja here.
So, Rogar, as you enter the room, you notice Guardian walking through the doors, which have partially collapsed here to the east of the map at least. And you notice that this hall has the thin layer of ice, like I was describing before, and the frozen fire here in the pit in the center. But you also notice, as you look around, piles of skeletons throughout the room.
And as much as Rogar would like to keep pace with Guardian, he's moving slowly, very cautious about what's actually going to appear here.
Valen looks around and she says, well, I don't imagine the book is here. This is where they ate. There is probably some kind of library or sacred vault, I would imagine. You'd keep something like this.
As everyone starts getting closer, they can start hearing Guardian muttering underneath his breath. Velbol tu astan, ilzun astan. And for Virion, he's like, why do I have memories of? He's just going to start walking around the room.
The room you've walked into here, Guardian, it looks like a large table, probably some kind of council meeting room. You vaguely remember walking through this room in your past life, but you don't exactly recall what it looked like before. Now it's sort of an echo to the room you just passed through, and then there's a thin layer of ice over everything. You see intricate carvings, some words written in Elvish, mostly names. This was probably like a council chamber when it was functional. But in the corner, and I don't know if you care at all about this, you see more skeletons. Throne room is this way.
Do I recognize any of the names?
You know them, but you can't remember them. They seem familiar, but you don't remember the details.
He's just going to tighten his grip on that ball, on the heft of it there, and like everyone can hear it creaking and groaning. As he's going to head towards this door, and he is just going to boot it open.
As you boot the double doors open, they open with a slow, long creak, and you hear a cracking, which is ice, like a thick layer of ice, which is probably on the inside of it. And as the doors swing open, the ice just falls away. And the rest of you, I think I got everybody here except Laja. I'm gonna drag you in here, Laja, unless you were telling me you were gonna stay behind.
No, thank you for dragging me, because I was too busy listening to move my token.
But what you see before you, Guardian, is a giant room, which you know is the throne room. And the predominant feature in this room, when you first look, is a huge block of ice. And this block of ice stretches from the floor pretty much to the ceiling. And you can tell the center of this block of ice is the throne. And you remember this is the king's throne. You can tell that this block of ice it's not very transparent. It's very difficult to see through to it. But it looks like there might be a skeleton on the throne itself. But surrounding this block of ice are runes that you do not know. You don't recognize what they are. They're not Elvish. They're something else. But they form a perfect circle around the throne. And from the block of ice, it appears that frost has stretched on the ground because it doesn't reach all the way to the door. But frost has covered a bit of the ground, but mostly stops when it reaches that circle. And this room, when you step into it, feels about 10 or 15 degrees even colder than outside on the glacier. And the room is perfectly quiet. In the corner, I'd say all around this room on the outside, you see skeletons. Piles of skeletons.
Yarn's just gonna walk in and continue speaking. Velbol zan ikelen, dumadi el ustan. And Varian, since the other one speaks Elven, he was like, what has happened to my king? Why don't I understand?
As Guardian keeps speaking in Elvish, I think Varian's like kind of sort of putting pieces together of what's going on. And Varian's just gonna stand behind Guardian and say Melamar, and that for Guardian he would know it translates like he's asking him a question like home.
He just looks back to you, and he's still speaking in Elven. He's like, I believe so. I do not understand. What are these ruins? And he's just going to start walking in, avoiding any bones, if he can.
And Valen actually walks right through the doors behind you and approaches the circle very enthusiastically, in fact. And Ollie leaves her shoulder and flies onto your shoulder, Guardian, but Valen is very quickly walking towards this column of ice in the center.
The moment she's like comes strutting in so enthusiastically, Guardian just turned and he very loudly says, Just Belvan Hulal. And like he takes a step closer and he is holding that maul ready to hit her.
And she leans back to you and she says in perfect Elvish, so she's known Elvish the entire time, she says, control yourself, fool.
So what he said to her then was, show respect for the dead.
And she crosses the circle and walks closer to the block of ice.
As that happens, Rogar will repeat what he said before. Friends, careful. I sense a great evil in this place.
Apparently this whole land is nothing but great evil.
This is the strongest I felt so far.
But Virian, your sword begins to hum even louder. It kind of reaches up an octave. It's almost like a low conversation. It's that loud, and to the point to where all of you have picked up the sound coming from the sword that Virian's carrying. And Valen, she walks over to the block of ice and she lovingly caresses it, and she says, "This is it. This is it. Finally, the fools, they doubted me, but I knew the stories were true. I knew they were true."
Valen, what stories?
And she's not really paying attention to you, and she continues, and she says, "My lord Kislar, chief amongst the necromancers of the fallen age, I am Valen, your servant. I'm here to beseech you and your return. The Frost Maiden has come to Icewind Dale, and now is the time for your ascendance. Together with me as your servant, you can overthrow her and take her place in godhood. The Tin Towns are weak and will readily serve you as an army of undead to overwhelm Grimskull and Auril." And
I'm moving forward to hit her.
She looks back to all of you, and she says, I know you are weakened, my lord, from centuries of imprisonment. There's a small crack that actually forms in the block, maybe 2 feet above her head as she starts to say this. It's like a small sliver, and it slowly starts to grow. And she says, I offer the souls of these adventurers as food to your eternal hunger.
I'm hitting her
Their lives will be the sustenance you need to awaken. Just a minute, Guardian.
with rage. Okay.
Just a minute.
I'm
And
trying to interrupt her.
she turns her back to the ice and she looks at all of you and she says, did you fools really think you had the strength to challenge Oral? She is a god, and it will take a god to defeat her. Ollie's mission was always a simple one, to find a group strong enough to find the way here, to survive, to offer up their souls to the Bane of Ythrin. You've all played your part perfectly. Now the last step is for you to surrender yourselves to the undead army of... And that's when her sentence stops. So the crack in the ice above her has grown larger and larger, and you notice inside the block of ice on the throne there are 2 glowing green orbs of light. Vlyn stumbles backwards, actually away from the ice, more towards the circle, as the green light surrounds her. Quickly, this happens very quickly. Her features darken as her skin quickly ages and cracks. Now, within moments, her whole body bursts into a cloud of dust, and her clothing falls to the ground. The green light that surrounded her is pulled back into the block of ice, and you see those green orbs that were just green orbs before. They're green lights, and they grow brighter into the shape of eyes. A deep voice from inside the block says, It has been an eternity in the ice, and my hunger has grown. Step forward, mortals. Your meaningless lives have fulfilled their purpose. I can taste your fear, and with each drop of it, I grow stronger. And Guardian, on your shoulder, Ollie looks up to you and says, yeah, that stinks. And she vanishes, because with Vlyn now dead, the magic keeping Ollie's spirit into the shape of an owl as her familiar is broken. She fades away quickly and is gone forever.